Hi everyone, Upthany Late Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this Polo G record, The Goat. This is the second full-length album from Chicago native and Columbia Records recording artist Polo G. I have been on the fence with this record now for a little bit, and maybe to a degree I still am, but honestly, the more I listen to this, the more excited I actually feel for Polo G's future in music. Now, take a look at the title. Take a look at the cover. We're not surprised this is a hip-hop project, right? It can be categorized as pop rap or trap rap or gangsta rap. It's all reflected in the lyrics pretty clearly. The fame, the watches, the designer clothes, the money, the violence, the drug dealing. Themes that have all been explored pretty widely and deeply in this wing of hip-hop for a while now. But there is something about this that doesn't strike me as the average trap project. In fact, Polo G barely even strikes me as a rapper. Oddly enough, he sounds more like a singer-songwriter to me. Obviously, Polo G is far from the only artist singing in trap music right now. It's pretty much a requirement at this point. But the vocal melodies on his songs are surprisingly dynamic. The narratives of his tracks, too, fluid. There's also a lot of focus on personal tragedy and mental health in his writing, too. What Polo G writes and says and sings on this LP is certainly thoughtful, but I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say that it's conscious hip-hop. This record is not a dissection of street life or a macro commentary on the web of systematic oppression that creates these conditions. Polo G is also no stranger to gun talk on this record, though when he's doing it, sometimes it seems like it's a result of him accepting his fate, basically seeing futility in fighting the nightmare he is stuck inside of. I stood 10 toes, I couldn't fold or panic. Them streets will turn a good kid into a cold little savage. No point in church, 'cause the preacher can't keep them poles from clappin'. It seemed like evil, my soul attractin', hope for forgiveness for my sins while I load the ratchet. So Polo G can obviously do chilling and harrowing on this record when he wants to, but a good deal of the time his songwriting comes off more heart-wrenching to one degree or another, such as the track No Matter What, where you have pristine piano leads soundtracking bars like "Standing on that corner like a rush and we can't get enough," "War Zone, I'm on my way to school, got my blicker tucked," "Prayed to the Lord for better days, feel like he's skipping us," "You gonna either die or see the system, ain't no slipping up." Polo then takes listeners down an even more traumatic path on the song I Know, where he reflects on his own mental instability, surviving abuse, having trust issues as well, and the depth with which he dives into these topics, the detail he gives listeners. It's pulling the veil further back than I think most writers are willing to, regardless of genre. Moments like this on this record, of which there are some, are just really emotionally devastating. Even when Polo is just doing his best to set the tone for the record on Don't Believe the Hype, the way his lyrics and the instrumentation rolls out, it just sounds like a movie. To add to the tragedy of this record, there is a posthumous Juice WRLD feature on here, which is pretty good. The song it comes off of is a banger and a half. Clearly, this track comes from a time when days were maybe a bit brighter, but just a few tracks later on the song 21, we have Polo G addressing Juice WRLD's death in a few bars. So there are multiple tracks on this thing that rank as some of my favorite hip-hop songs of the year. But damn, there are aspects of this album that fall so fantastically short. Most of these flaws coming from the production, mixing, and mastering department. Oh, Jesus, how could a major label project come out with the beats sounding so thin and so generic for the majority of the record? I would say the only smart thing Polo G does with all of these very basic, very skeletal, somewhat weepy piano and guitar laced beats is that he hits listeners with them so consistently, it kind of becomes a style and an aesthetic. If you pulled out most of these beats just out of context, threw them on any other record, they would be just forgettable as hell. The trap percussion on many songs here, even on the intro track, is lacking in punch, clarity, separation. The Lil Baby feature on the back end of Be Something is mixed so quietly, it's almost like the Nav feature on Astroworld all over again, but for some reason people aren't laughing this time around. I don't know why. His voice sounds so damn quiet. Why is he even on the track? Polo G's vocals and lyricism often makes up for how lackluster the production is, but not always. In the case of the song 33, it really like sucks the winds out of the sails and just leaves the song feeling very gray. Meanwhile, the track Go Stupid with Stunna for Vegas and NLE Choppa is insanely hard-hitting. Production from Mike Will made it. It's crazy to think that a record has a song like this that hits so hard, so much volume, so bright, so much flavor to it, and then there are cuts here that are so insanely quiet. And I don't mean that in the sense that, oh, they're mellow or, oh, they're low key. Like, clearly they're being mastered at different volumes, and I don't know why. I mean, I know if this were a Louis Tomlinson album, it wouldn't be going out like this, but you let the Polo G record go out like this? Come on, Columbia. Jesus. The production also leads to a lack of style and diversity toward the end of the record, so you do get one or two redundant tracks. Polo G even seems to be painting himself into a corner vocally as well, especially on the song Relentless as well as Chinatown, where his vocal lines come off quite tedious. Not sure how crazy I am as well about the faint faux Far East musical samples that are laced throughout the beat. Sure, it's a change of pace, but they are boring as hell. So while the second act of this record generally is not as strong as the first, it does give us two killer closing tracks. BJ the Chicago Kid sounds fantastic on the closer Wishing for a Hero, which is essentially a flip or features an interpolation of Tupac's Changes. This song also sees Polo G transitioning into the most socially aware, politically charged content he writes on the entire record. Some really fiery rapping on this one. You can tell he is digging down vocally on this one, and when he writes and spits lines like, "They killed Martin for dreaming and now I can't sleep," that is, again, just one of many devastating moments on the record. Look, overall, I like this project quite a bit, even with there being some massive sonic flaws on it, which again I think is a tribute to just how good a lot of Polo G's singing and songwriting on this thing is. And I just walk away from this seeing a lot of potential for what Polo G could be doing down the road from here. Like, make no mistake, if he could somehow keep his storytelling fresh and maybe link it together into a greater narrative or something over production that is just way better in quality, more diverse in sound, and obviously like not mixed or mastered like crap, he could make a mind-blowing project, one of the best projects of this decade. And I don't know, I'm just gonna cross my fingers here. I'm gonna cross my fingers here and just hope and pray to Jesus that it happens. Feeling a light to decent 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Polo G, the GOAT, forever.